Breaking news, guys. Donald Trump has been found to have broken the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 by U.S. District Judge Breyer in San Francisco. We got that information here from Cal Cheney. Breaking: Judge Breyer rules that President Trump's deployment of the military in Los Angeles violated the Posse Comitatus Act. Says Trump is using the military as a national police force with the president as its chief. Injunction granted. We see that the governor's office has already reacted to this. Governor Newsom press office, Newsom v. Trump, because there is an ongoing risk that defendant Trump will act unlawfully and thereby injure plaintiff California, the court enjoins defendant from violating the Posse Comitatus Act. The people of California want much needed accountability against the Trump illegal militarization of American cities. And here is what the judge wrote. Congress spoke clearly in 1878 when it passed the Posse Comitatus Act, prohibiting the use of U.S. military to execute domestic law. Nearly 140 years later, defendants President Trump, Secretary of Defense Hegseth, and the Department of Defense deployed the National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles ostensibly to quell a rebellion and to ensure that the federal immigration law was enforced. There were indeed protests in Los Angeles, and some individuals engaged in violence, yet there was no rebellion, nor was civilian law enforcement unable to respond to the protests and enforce the law. Nevertheless, the defendant orders, in contrary to Congress' explicit instruction, federal troops execute the law. The evidence at trial established that defendants systematically used armed soldiers whose identity was often obscured by protective armor and military vehicles to set up protective perimeters and traffic blockades, engage in crowd control, and otherwise demonstrate a military presence in and around Los Angeles. In short, defendants violated the Posse Comitatus Act. Almost 3 months after the defendants first deployed the National Guard to Los Angeles, 200 National Guard members remain stationed there. Moreover, President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have stated their intention to call the National Guard troops to federal service in other cities across the country, including Oakland and San Francisco, here in the Northern District of California, thus creating a national police force with the president as its chief. Because there is a risk that defendants will act unlawfully and thereby injure plaintiffs, Governor Gavin Newsom of the state of California, the court enjoins the defendant from violating the Posse Comitatus Act, detailed below. Actually, this means that Donald Trump has to move the National Guard out of California. Now, the judge did put a stay on his ruling until September 12th, I believe, to allow for the Trump administration to appeal, which we already know they're going to try and appeal. We already know that they're trying to go to other cities and states, and that's what messed it up for them. You can't do that. Otherwise, you have a national police force, which essentially makes the president the chief police officer. He can't do that. That is not allowed in American cities. That's not allowed in the United States of America. We have states' rights for a reason. Republicans, did y'all forget about states' rights?